This is a Film Stories original podcast.
Hi, this is Mark Snow, composer for The X-Files, and you are listening to the fabulous X-Cast.
Welcome back, everybody, to the X-Cast. The truth is in here. I'm your host, Carl Sweeney, and today we're discussing the upcoming season of the X-Files, season 11, which is due in 2018. And I'm joined by two guests, and the first guest is Andrew Blaker. Hi, Andrew.
Hi, Carl. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm fine, thanks. Andrew, obviously people will remember you from the second Roundtable podcast we did a while ago, but you've been doing some recording for the upcoming X-Cast, X-Files Podwatch, haven't you, recently?
Yep. Still recording a couple of them, actually. We've been doing a lot and pretty good stuff.
Good stuff, yeah. And that'll be starting in October, hopefully. I'm also joined by Kelechi Ihenyelo. Hi, Kelechi.
Hi, Carl.
Yeah, obviously your first appearance on the X-Cast. It's good to speak to you.
Nice to speak to you too.
Could you tell us a bit about your film and TV blog? It's called Confessions from a Geek Mind. I've read quite a few of your articles. There's some good stuff on there. Just tell us a bit about that, please.
Yeah, I started writing that blog about 4 years ago. Had a sort of an epiphany, after a cold, and my friends always told me that I was always knowledgeable about movies and TV, and someone said, you should get it down and write it out and get it out into the world. And yeah, had a flu one day, and I just said, you know what? This sounds like a good thing to do. And so as soon as I recovered, I started up WordPress and just got straight into it. And it's been going on for 4 years. I didn't imagine it would be going on for this long, but I've met some amazing people, I've interacted with amazing people, and it's nice to see some value and people, I guess, some value into the work, and people love it, and it just keeps me motivated to keep doing what I do. So I'm happy to be here and continue to explore those avenues.
Good stuff. So how frequently are you updating the blog?
I try to do it every week. It's always a bit tough when you're also managing day job as well. So I try and do it every week as much as possible. If I can, I'll sneak in at least about two or three, depending on my time constraints. It's always a challenge, but you do what you do because you love what you do. So it's a long time passion and ambition of mine. So I will write until 2 or 3 a.m. in the morning if it hurts. But I know that I'm getting out there a good quality post for my readers. So it's confessionsfromageekmind.com. Everyone can go and visit it, explore it, share comments, or read the blog and see what you think, and let me know.
Great stuff. So will the new season of the X-Files be on your radar? Absolutely.
I've been a fan since I was 8 years old. So I don't think I've ever envisaged a show lasting as long as in my mindset for as much it has done. So it's incredible that it has, and I'm still fascinated by the topics and the subjects that the show brings up, and it's always a fascination on what this show does. And yeah, I'm excited, and yeah, let's see what Chris Carter has for this series.
All right, so what we're here to discuss is we thought it'd be good to put out a podcast revolving around the news and the rumours that are circulating about the new episodes. And I'm also going to combine that. We're going to hear from some listeners. We're going to get some listener feedback about what people want to see, ideally, from Season 11. What I would like to do, I guess, is give a bit of a spoiler warning. If you're listening and you want to stay completely fresh, for when the new episodes come, you might want to turn off. It's up to you. We're going to discuss news that's in the public domain. I don't think we'll be breaking any news. But if you don't want to know who's in the cast, that kind of thing, then, proceed with caution. So, filming is underway. That's the first thing to say. So, we're recording this in the middle of September. but filming has been going for a good few weeks now, I believe. The first thing that's interesting that we should maybe mention is that information from the set's being really tightly controlled this time. I mean, the most information seems to have come from, like, Gillian Anderson's Instagram account, basically. She's been tweeting out a few photos and things. But otherwise, not much has come out, really. So what do you guys think about that? And I mean, personally, I think the more mysterious, the better. But what do you think, Kelechi?
I actually really enjoy that I don't know what's going to happen. I think from the last, when season 10 came around, it seemed like everything was out in the open. It was very hard to stay spoiler free, and I always try and stay spoiler free for most things that I watch or something that I'm anticipated to watch. So it got very hard on Twitter or Facebook, and you've seen, David and Gillian on the streets of Vancouver, and people just taking snapshots and everything. And then you're like, it always intrigues you what that moment is in what they're filming. But I'm actually really happy that there's a total clampdown on this, and it will only feed into what's going to happen. It will keep everybody on their toes, and I want to be surprised. So I know that once that first episode comes on the air, and I'm sitting in front of my TV with probably a popcorn and a glass of wine, I know that I'm going to be right. I'm going to have the mindset and ready to enjoy whatever that comes up on the screen.
Yeah, but what do you think, Andrew? Because I know you're kind of on the hunt for information, aren't you? At least I think that's what you told me last time.
I've never been bothered too much by spoilers. I think something you have to realize, and I think everyone knows this with the X-Files, is sometimes spoilers aren't really spoilers. When you get a spoiler, it doesn't really necessarily turn out to be true. For years, especially with when they were doing I Want to Believe, they threw red herrings out there left and right to throw people off their tracks. And, they did that during season 10 too. And things that even, Chris Carter sometimes would come out and say would not necessarily go the way you think they would. So to me, they kind of like to tantalize viewers with that. So, I agree, though. I don't want it all to be given away. I would be very disappointed if significant plot threads were given away. But on the other hand, I do like when you see a guest star, you see a scene being shot, because you still know next to nothing about it, but it's a tease, So I enjoy some of that, like what we got with season 10, which you're right, we really have not been getting anything of substance past, the announcement of the revival this season, rather, and who's in it and all things like that. So
yeah, I think what I'm mainly concerned about from a UK perspective is that I hope it's not like last time, where Channel 5, the broadcaster who had the rights to the episodes, didn't air them until a few weeks after the US. So it made it very difficult to avoid reviews and fan reactions and that kind of thing.
Felt like a month.
Yeah, I'm hoping that this time we get them the next day or the same day or something, but we'll see. This, control of information might ease up soon, because on Sunday, October the 8th, there's going to be an X-Files panel at New York Comic Con, and it's going to be attended by David Duchovny, Gillian Anderson, Mitch Pileggi, and Chris Carter. So I believe it's been said there's going to be an exclusive first look at the new season. So whether that means like a teaser trailer or a scene or two is going to be shown, I'm not sure exactly. But that's probably going to be the first, real look at the series. So that's something to look forward to, I guess.
Yeah.
And the article I saw that talked about that panel also suggests that January is when we're going to see the new series. But as of yet, I don't think that's 100%, set in stone. But that could change very soon. But I think it was January last time, or it was February? I'm not sure.
It was definitely January in the US. It was February in the UK.
Okay.
Yeah, it premiered after, I think it was the NFC game. All I remember was wanting that game to hurry up. But, it was. I think it was January 24th when it premiered, and then they aired the second episode the following night. So it would be kind of neat symmetry to premiere 2 years, later, almost date. But that is if they're going to be filming until December, it is a pretty short turnaround for post production. So it very well may be pushed out a couple of months. Just don't know.
So January is what we're looking at the minute, late January, but that, like you say, that could very easily not be the case. We'll find out. Right, one thing we should probably discuss that was quite big news at the time, a few weeks ago now, was there's been some behind-the-scenes personnel changes I don't know how much detail to go into. I'm sure a lot of fans will have heard it. There was kind of a controversy about the fact that originally there were no female writers or directors on board for season 11. There was, Carter, Morgan and Wong, and Darren Morgan, and then some new guys. But, there was kind of a backlash to that. Gillian Anderson spoke up as well, saying she wanted she wanted some female directors. And then, after a couple of weeks, there were some changes. So, Karen Nielsen has been added to the writing roster. I think she directed... there was like a short film on the Blu-ray set from season 10, which I think she directed.
Yes.
Also, Kristen Cloak and Shannon Hamblin are going to write an episode. And Kristen Cloak, people will know as the wife of Glenn Morgan, and an actress in her own right. She played the character of Melissa in the episode The Field Where I Died, and Lara Means on the series Millennium. And then there are a couple of changes as well to the directorial lineup. So Holly Dale and Carol Banker are going to direct episodes of a new season as well. So what do you guys think of this? This story, this controversy? Andrew, I'll start with you. The CEO of Fox, Dana Walden, said that these staffing changes weren't as a result of the backlash, but that didn't sound massively convincing to me.
Oh, no. Well, I mean, that's just PR. That's what she has to say. But, I do think that I think it's a good change because I think it's important to have a core crew, which was kind of one of their justifications for why, when this was initially announced, there were no female writers or directors. There were none in season 10. But I think, not only just for, diversity's sake, but I do think in terms of storytelling, if this is slightly different in tone and everything than the original series, I think a lot of people would agree with that. But in a way, that's not a bad thing. I think, especially if the intention of Fox is to see where this will go and for how long this will go, I think you're going to need to bring in some new talent. And I think having multiple people work on an episode, as appears to be the case with Kristen Cloak and Sharon Hamlin, I think some reports make it look like, they're going to be writing the story that is actually thought up by Glenn Morgan. I think that's good. I think the more people you have involved, I think there's more room for, the writer's room, as they say, bouncing ideas off of each other. So I think it's really good. And I think it's good to have some new directorial talent as well.
Yeah, I guess the only thing I would have liked is that, I wish they'd have just said, we've listened to the backlash and we've learned, I suppose, rather than try to say that, this was the plan all along, which, which doesn't really appear to have been the case.
No.
Kelechi, what do you make of this?
I 100% agree with Andrew and with what you just said, Carl. It's kind of an unfortunate situation in the sense that we are living in a sort of a diverse time, and everybody is picking up on that issue and will comment about it. It's going to be all over social media. So in a sense, what Fox have done is a PR statement to kind of calm down the tension and say, right, we have learned, but we're going to make out this little statement to kind of say that, look, we this was the plan all along. But it is good that there is change. It's good that there's going to be more voices. That's, I guess, the most important thing for it. I know Chris has been very loyal. That's the first reaction with his original lineup. But it's a hard one because he's obviously had a very close working group, and he's obviously promoted them out through the ranks. And, a lot of them, like Frank Spotnitz and John Straban and Vince Gilligan, they've all gone on to bigger and better things. So in a sense, he's looking at that writer room and promoting them up. He's like I said, he's been very loyal to that, but it is good that there is more voices and much more, I guess, diversity into that camp. And it will be interesting to see what they produce, because it will be something different. And we are living in, I guess, a different time. And it's important that X-Files reflects that.
Yeah, I think as soon as they expanded the writing staff from guys who'd worked on the original series, this should have been foreseen as something that was going to be raised as an issue. So I think it's good that they reacted, even though belatedly. Yeah, I heard the same thing as you, Andrew, that the Kristen Cloak, Shannon Hamblin episode would be, their teleplay from a story by Glenn Morgan. So that'd be interesting to see. I'm not sure about the Karen Nielsen one. We'll find out in due course, I suppose. All right, so according to the president of Fox, David Madden, Season 11 is going to be mostly standalone episodes, perhaps just 2 mythology episodes, which we presume would be the first and the final episode. What do we think about that? What's the ideal balance? Is this too much of a course correction, or is this a good move? Kelechi, your take on this, please.
Well, with season 10, it's hard to not argue against the fact that it was very short and having the mythology as the beginning and the end felt too rushed and maybe too abrupt. So having 10 episodes for season 11 makes total sense. It gives us a bit more breathing room with the mythology, but there is still, I guess, a worry for me in terms of the mythology, in terms of how it's going to be expanded. If it's going to be the beginning and the end, then it could work out. But I guess it depends on what the story creative is going to be like. So if it is going to be expansive, then it might, it feels like there might have to be an extra episode, maybe in the middle, so it has a nice, flow through. But I guess it depends on whether Chris sees this, either this is going to be the final, or he's thinking about season 12. So it's very hard to kind of think whether, if this balance is going to be good or not, if it's going to be the bookend, I guess, for this season. If it is as we assumed, then I would expect there's probably going to be a season 12. That's probably going to be key. It's too far along down the line to be thinking about that, but it really depends on what Chris explores with this mythology, and especially as with season 10 and how it's, I guess the word is rejigged or reclassified the mythology in a sort of different way, which at the moment feels a bit of like a disconnect between what was done before and what it is now. So I guess for mythology's sakes, I want a kind of, what is the direct link between what we've had in the original run to what we got in season 10. So if it's going to be clear and substantial, then maybe 2 episodes might work out. But on gut feeling, I feel like there needs to be an extra mythology episode.
Yeah. Now, what I should say is that if you look at the full quote from David Madden, it's a bit more ambiguous than maybe I presented it as there. He says that there'll be standalone episodes mostly. Yeah. He seems to hint that there'll be, standalones with some mythological elements. So I guess we might still get stuff like Founder's Mutation, which you can see either way. It kind of ties into the mythology, it also stands alone. Yeah. So we'll see. I think it may well be that when it comes down to it, the episodes, there's more mythology than they might be saying at the moment. I think sometimes people use mythology to mean Chris Carter episodes with UFOs, whereas, you can define it in different ways. Yeah. Andrew, what do you reckon? Because, I don't know, the stakes are so high after the way things were left at the end of My Struggle 2 that to kind of deal with all of that in just 1 episode and then forget about it for 8 episodes before the finale seems a tall order to me. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is. And I think a lot of this comes down to the question, which we may never know. Did Chris Carter did he know what would happen beyond that cliffhanger? Or did he just decide to go balls to the wall? Here's what we're going to do. I don't really know where we're going to go after that, but here's where we're going to leave it. I am concerned by the fact that there's only 2 strictly myth arc episodes. I do think, especially probably from James Wong, probably Glenn Morgan, I think they're going to tie the myth arc in somehow. But I agree with what you said. I don't think it's enough. I really don't, especially if, I think Chris Carter needs to make up his mind really about, okay, are we starting something new? Are we starting a new mythology? Are we going to kind of we're going to kind of have a myth arc plot of the year, if we can, however many more of these he's able to convince Jillian and David to do, and the ratings and what Fox wants and everything. I don't see the myth arc's the biggest thing for me, honestly. I feel like there is no way around having at least a partial retcon of what we saw in season 10. A lot of people I've followed on Twitter or forums or whatever, some people have proposed that maybe My Struggle 2, the most of the episode after the first zoom in on Scully's eye when she's listening to Tad talk about alien DNA. Some people are saying that could just be her vision of what the future could be. Dream sequence of sorts. I don't know if there's anything to that. I hope that he can tie this seemingly new mythology in with the original. I don't want to see the original thrown out because it was so good for so long. They put a lot of work into it, and they left so many things hanging. I think there's a way for Chris Carter to tie it mostly together. It's not going to be perfect at all, but if he can mostly tie it together, I think it can be done if he wants to. But yeah, I definitely hope we get some episodes in the middle that at least elaborate on myth arc themes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm expecting it to dovetail with the original mythology. Like you say, I don't think every single element will match up exactly. I just don't think he would throw it all out. I know some people think he has done. I don't know, maybe he's just trying to declutter the mythology. Yeah, I don't know. What we're talking about, though, I think it speaks to this tension about, at the heart of the series, about, is it coming back, was it coming back for a short time, or is Carter trying to spin this out for several years? And I'm not sure that question's been resolved yet, exactly. Yeah, because, I mean, I believe there's going to have to be some stuff to do with William, and I would expect that to carry over into other episodes as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's look at some of the casting news. So we know that David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson are back. We know that Mitch Pileggi is back. I mean, do we all agree, just quickly, that we want to see more Skinner, and maybe Skinner used for a greater purpose than he was in season 10?
Absolutely.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I actually we had a Horror Hound weekend here in the Midwest last weekend, and I got to meet Mitch Pileggi and did a little photo op with him, and I that was one of the things I told him. I said point blank, I said, I hope we see more of you in season 11 than we did in season 10. And he kind of laughed, and you will.
Yeah, we want to see more of him, and I'd imagine they will have listened to people, and that's been a very common comment from people, hasn't it?
Well, yeah. Season 10 was obviously had 6 episodes, so it was never enough time to cover everybody in that short space of time. So hopefully with the 10 episodes, we'll see him interact a little bit more. We'll find out what his story is, like why is he still assistant director and not being promoted. I mean, I know Mitch has hinted at the fact that he's still been on Mulder Scully's side, and he's not been in favor with the superiors, but it makes me wonder, is someone else above him, like, is there new Kirsch involved? Is like that person part of the conspiracy as well? You never know. But so hopefully season 11 will elaborate on his position and why he's still there, and whether he married his secretary.
Yeah, so he's back. I presume William B. Davis is back, but I haven't seen anything official, but I've seen a cryptic comment from his fan page on Facebook that seems to suggest he's been on set. So I would expect to see the cigarette smoking man in at least the first episode, possibly more. Now, one thing that is official is that Annabeth Gish is back as Reyes. So what do you think about the way Reyes was used in My Struggle 2, Kelechi? And, what do you think of Reyes generally? And, how do you think they should use her going forward?
Well, I've liked Reyes. I think her partnership with John Doggett in the latter half of Series 8 and obviously throughout for Season 9, I'm probably one of the minority of the fans who actually enjoyed that season, even though I know it was never quite as good as the original, but I still think Season 8 is underrated. So I sort of enjoyed her kind of, she's almost like the female version of Mulder, that kind of innocence and that perceptive to believe and so forth. So when it came to season 10 and the sort of betrayal, and she's like, oh, I'm working with a cigarette smoking man, and and you're the chosen, and you're part of this chosen group, I guess. So it did feel a bit of like, well, why did this happen? And I think it was part of the overall problem with My Struggle too, in the fact that everything felt rushed, and the ideas were good, but it just needed a breathing room. So we kind of get to understand more about why Reyes did what she did. And the only reason why I can think of why she did that is because of John Doggett. So I would hope and expect that in season 11 we'll start to see that role expanded as to why she decided to do that. I think her coming to Scully during My Struggle 2 is her path to redemption, I guess. But I think it's interesting in the same way why, I guess, Chris Carter keeps using, I guess, characters like Skinner and Scully to have like clandestine meetings with the cigarette smoking man. I think he's just to expose a kind of a vulnerability within, I guess, human characteristics. And he's always trying to find some sort of pressure point. So I would suspect that John Doggett is that, and it will be interesting to know how that gets elaborated into season 11. So I expect a big kind of, hopefully, a path to redemption with her character, because she's too good for that.
If Doggett was related to that decision in some way, that would be great. I'd love to see Doggett again. I think he was a great character. It sounds like Robert Patrick's possibly more open to it than he was at one point, but I haven't heard anything official about him coming back.
Maybe that's part of the whole mystery. Like we'll start watching the episode and it's like, oh, he's there, and everyone else is back.
Or it could be, if he does get on board, it'll be towards the end of the run. That's one to keep an eye on. Andrew, I mean, personally, I know a lot of people got angry about the Reyes thing. I think for me, the thing with Reyes is that I really like the way she's teed up in season 8, but in season 9, her character's kind of all over the place. So, I mean, when people talk about it as like a character assassination, I sort of think that she didn't have that well-defined a character to begin with, and I'm kind of willing to see it play out.
I do agree, though, with Kelechi. I think we will see Reyes get some measure of redemption. When she appeared in My Struggle 2, I didn't necessarily see her as a villain. I saw her as someone who, I mean, what would you do in that situation? Not to put too, much of a real life spin on it, but, she made a bargain that I think a lot of people would have made in the real world, so to speak. So I don't really see it as character assassination, and I certainly won't if, like we said, if there's some redemption. I mean, I feel like her story, or how a way to resolve her character and bring her back to the so-called good side is, I think it writes itself. She should know where William is. It should be revealed some way that, she took the bargain as a way to protect him, or maybe she's now reaching out to Scully as a way to protect William. I mean, she was there when William was born. Her and Scully had some great character moments throughout season 9, and I hope that they kind of bring that full circle. That'd be some nice symmetry. So I feel like that's a pretty easy step to make in the writing of an episode. So I think we'll see some redemption for her, and I think we'll get more to the story about not only her involvement with Cigarette Smoking Man, the conspiracy, whatever, but maybe she'll have some answers about William as well.
Yeah, that sounds very plausible to me, Andrew. Are you sure Mitch Pileggi didn't tell you the storyline when you were meeting with him?
I wish. No.
Yeah, that sounds very possible. Yeah, I wonder how much of the series she's going to be in. Maybe just a couple of episodes. Right, so there's a new cast member, Barbara Hershey. She's a very good actress. I mean, she's been in loads of stuff over the years. She's been nominated for an Oscar. I mean, I think of her instantly from Woody Allen's Hannah and Her Sisters, which is one of my favourite films, but she's been in a couple of Martin Scorsese's films and the film Black Swan, loads of stuff. She's going to take the role of somebody called Erica Price, and this character has been described as a powerful figure who represents a mysterious organisation. So, I mean, that description immediately makes me think that she's going to be kind of set up as possibly some kind of arch villain, but I suppose not necessarily. She could be an informant. I don't really know. If she's going to be a recurring character, it sort of begs the question of how many episodes is she going to be in? If it's just a mythology character, and there's only 2 mythology episodes, is that going to be sufficient to, build up an interesting character that we've never seen before? I don't know. I mean, I think I'm pleased that they're bringing in a new character who may well turn out to be significant.
Yeah, definitely. No, I think we need new characters. I mean, that was my biggest thing with bringing back Cigarette Smoking Man. It just kind of felt like Chris Carter didn't know what else to do, and so he's like, well, let's just resurrect him and see what happens. I mean, we need new characters. I don't know if 2 episodes is enough. If it plays like My Struggle 2, I can tell you it's not. But I'm hoping that maybe at least one, maybe both could be longer episodes. There's no reason it can only be 45 minutes. I mean, we have special episodes of shows that air, 60, 70, 80 minutes. So I'm hoping that they'll give a little bit of leeway with that.
Yeah, Kelechi, Erica Price, what would you like to see from, this character, from what you've heard of the way she's being described? I mean, do you like her as an actress? Do you think she's suited to the X-Files?
I mean, Chris always makes good decisions with casting choices. So, this continues, I guess, the long line of history of those choices. given her fame, I guess I would like to see her in every single episode. Like even at the end of, like, you know, maybe as a tease at the end of a Monster of the Week or some sort of standalone episode, like something that sort of teases up her role. But it's very hard to kind of speculate because, you know, everything's been kept close to their chest in a way. We can only speculate on what her role is. You know, I would imagine that maybe she could be part of the conspiracy. Maybe she holds the key to, you know, where William is, or maybe she knows what William has become. Maybe she's, you know, part of that conspiracy. So yeah, I don't know. It's begs the question of her role, and I'm glad in some ways that we don't know, and we're just going to have to find out in 2018. But going back to Andrew's point about the cigarette smoking man and his reintroduction, you know, the problem obviously with that is it doesn't explain how he even survived at the end of the truth. So it's like, oh, it's great he's back, but then how did he even survive that? And maybe her character is part of that resurrection. Maybe. I'm wondering if she's going to be more powerful than he is, and the smoking man is going to be, you know, dealt with in the first episode or two. But I don't know, because I mean, Carter likes to return to to William B. Davis again and again. He kind of can't let go of him, so I don't know.
I feel like we should shout out spoiler again, just, you know, so we don't get in trouble. But you know, it's been pretty much confirmed that the first episode of season 11 is titled My Struggle 3. Yeah. I don't see who else that episode would be about if not the cigarette smoking man.
William.
Well, it could be William, that's true, but some people feel like there's no way Chris Carter's going to show William that early in the show.
I would expect William to be at the end of the series.
The search for William will take 9 episodes. There are behind-the-scenes photos of Barbara Hershey filming with David Duchovny at the house where we saw Cigarette Smoking Man in My Struggle 2. I do think what Kelechi said, I've kind of wondered myself if she is not part of the so-called new conspiracy utilizing alien technology, which in essence is kind of what alien human hybrids were. I don't know if this is the right, you know, place or whatever for it, but I personally feel that we might get some sort of hint, or if not outright, you know, point that the cigarette smoking man we saw in season 10 is actually like a hybrid, an alien human hybrid of sorts, bioengineered one way or another, just because of how, you know, like you said, it begs the question, how did he survive? I mean, and it is very implausible, but you know, when you see him in the flashback in My Struggle 2, you know, you see so little of him. And I felt like some of the dialogue between William B. Davis and David Duchovny in the final episode of season 10 was I felt from David, the cigarette smoking man, he was pretty emotionless character. Very, very direct. I don't know. I'm probably reading way too much into it, but that's just a personal thought of mine, and I think it would be a great way to tie the old mythology of super soldiers and everything we had in 8 and 9 into wherever Chris Carter wants to go with this new stuff. I feel like that would be the easiest way to kind of bridge the gap.
Yeah, I mean, while we're on the subject of the smoking man, this may be a good time to mention that I'm going to file this one under as a rumour, which is that it's been, somebody on Twitter has said that Veronica Cartwright, aka Cassandra Spender, has said she's returning to the series, which would be pretty incredible, really. She had a massively significant role in the episode she appeared in, but she only appeared in 4 episodes of the original run. So, if I think that would be a clear signal to me that, you know, things are going to tie into the original mythology if she does appear. And the other rumour was that not only Cassandra, but Jeffrey Spender, Chris Owens, may also be returning, but I'll say that compared to like the Barbara Hershey news, these are just rumours.
Chris Owens did confirm he was filming in Vancouver. He would not say what he was filming. And the Veronica Cartwright story, aside from that one mention on Twitter, I haven't seen anything more about that. But yeah, just rumors at this point.
I've seen some people say that maybe they're coming back to appear in flashbacks, but, you know, I mean, obviously it's been nearly 20 years since Cassandra Spender appeared in the X-Files, so that would seem unlikely to me.
Well, it could happen. I mean, technology has advanced so much. If you only have to look at some of the Marvel films today, and I think I'm just reminiscent of like Ant-Man and seeing Michael Douglas de-aged to like Wall Street age. So, if the technology is there to de-age them to do a flashback, then I'm pretty sure that technology is still available. So.
And the other thing somebody pointed out was that Chris Owens is now the age that William B. Davis was when the original series started, which is kind of mind-boggling to think.
Wow.
I haven't actually checked that, but it sounds like it could be true. So somebody said, like, is he going to be playing the young cigarette-smoking man? But, like, he's too old to play the young cigarette-smoking man now. Time will tell. Time will tell. Two other beloved characters are definitely coming back, and they are Agents Miller and Einstein. So, of course, these were the agents introduced in Babylon and then returned in My Struggle 2. Robbie Amell and Lauren Ambrose. Do we just want them to turn up and be killed off in the first episode? Or do we want them to play a bigger role than that? Who wants to take this one?
The roles improved for me. Their characters improved with My Struggle 2. Babylon, they were fairly obvious caricatures of a younger Mulder and Scully, and I felt that was pretty uncreative, and I didn't really find it funny. I felt like their roles were a little better defined for My Struggle 2, particularly Robbie Amell's as Agent Miller. I'm not as big a fan, I guess, and only speaking in terms of her character, of Agent Einstein, because I just feel like it's such an obvious riff on Scully, and I just can't get past that. It's a personal flaw. I can't get past it. But I hope they use them for more serious content. I don't think those characters are well suited for comedy. And I don't think I feel like it would be a very dumb move on Chris Carter, given how almost everyone reacted so negatively to Babylon.
Yeah.
I think he'll hopefully steer clear of that. So, if they have a relevant role in the new season, I mean, I'll definitely probably have a better opinion of them.
I think the thing with Einstein is I just can't get past the name, really.
Same here.
Yeah.
It's a really odd choice. Now, when they appeared in Babylon, they felt to me like characters who would be in for one episode only. So I was a bit surprised they turned up again in My Struggle 2. I mean, obviously, I think Lauren Ambrose is a good actress. So the fact that she comes on in Babylon and she gives this really grating, shrill performance is really curious to me. And I can only assume that that's the way Carter directed her towards,
It's quite ironic. I mean, maybe just to give a defense, I mean, 100% agree with you guys. I mean, I found them very irritating in Babylon. I don't think that was the perfect vehicle for them. But with Lauren Ambrose as Einstein, I remember watching that and just thinking this is completely manic, this is crazy and so forth. And then I think it was a couple of days later, and it was on Spike UK. They were showing the pilot episode, and it's not to say that Gillian Anderson was was exactly like Ambrose, but it felt like almost like a mirror image or a parallel in terms of channeling that kind of, well, what are we doing here, Mulder? This is crazy. This is blah, 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 and I felt like that was almost a sort of a weird tribute to her, but it's done in an episode which was just too, it had its merits, but at the same time, it was, it was just too all over the place to kind of give that as a perfect vehicle for those two characters to really stand out. And I agree with Andrew. I hope that if they do appear, if it's in the first episode, that it is serious, that we can take them seriously. Maybe Einstein has a name change, something, I hopefully they will get some kind of pat on the back, that, okay, you're kind of part of the law. It's not to say that I hate the characters or anything. I just think the way they were introduced could have been better, because I think the way they were kind of paired off between Mulder and Scully was almost like Mulder and Scully were using them to kind of validate their opinions into what their beliefs of how to solve that crime. So I thought that was a very interesting sort of analogy how they did that. But I hope that they get something, seriously done as in they show their merit and they're not kind of, there for the joke side.
What I would like to see with those two is, I mean, I don't necessarily need to see a lot of them through the series. I'm not that interested in them, really. But I would like Carter and co. They've created these characters. Carter specifically. He's created these characters. I want to see him try and make them work, I don't want him to sort of do a complete about turn and just try and write them out. I want him to kind of reckon with what he's created, basically. I think there's potential there. I don't think, I'm not clamouring for a spin-off with those guys or anything, but I would like to see, their characters improved. And I don't really know about the actor who plays Miller. I haven't seen him in anything else, I don't think. But I think Lauren Ambrose can deliver the goods if she's given some good material. So, but I could be completely wrong. We could get 5 minutes into My Struggle 3 and they've been, zapped by the UFO tractor beam and, we'll see. Just finally on the subject of casting news, Dean Hagland is returning as Langley, we think, for episode 2. We're not sure yet about the other lone gunmen, but I would expect to see them at some point. I think I'm a bit of an anomaly in terms of X-Files fans because, I like the lone gunmen, but I'm not as keen... I'm not as big a fan of them as many are. I'm kind of quite happy when they appear sporadically. And basically, I didn't really like the fact that they were killed off in the way they were, but I'm not desperate to see them resurrected. But there's a lot of excitement about the gunmen possibly coming back. Andrew, how should they play this? Should their death have been a fake? Should they be clones? What should they do?
I what you said, I 100% agree with. Like I said, I like them, and I liked them throughout the original series. And I did not like the way that they were killed off. But I'm not really, too strong either way, really. In the season 10 comic books, spoiler alert, they were not dead. I don't know. It might have been a bit of a reach. We don't see any bodies. You could, they made Cigarette Smoking Man come back. They can make anybody come back. But I don't know. If they do it, Dean Hagland might appear in a flashback. He might appear in some sort of video. You just don't know. I don't think they should come back as ghosts. I think that's kind of hokey. I don't know. I guess I don't have too strong of an opinion either way, to be honest.
Yeah, I just worry that, if they're resurrecting the gunman, it's going to be too much of a nostalgia trip when maybe that's not the way they should take things.
I do love the gunman. I guess when I was a kid growing up and watching those guys on TV, I found sort of a kind of kindred spirit with them, kind of, geeky nerds, who know their stuff. And so they always brought a smile to my face, and I've always enjoyed what those guys did. It could be a flashback. It could be just or maybe they are brought back from the dead. If they did, it wouldn't surprise me if it went down, as Andrew said, down the season 10 comics, which Joe Harris did. I can't imagine them being ghosts. I just hope if when they reappear, it's better than what we got in Babylon, because it was 3 seconds. And I think that they deserve more than that. But I think X-Files is bigger than trying to resurrect, bringing back characters every minute, second. So it just depends on the context of how they come back. If they're back from the dead, then hopefully it's dealt in a way that, yay, they're back. But then we get back to the focus of the story and the mystery and how it leads up to the bigger picture, I guess.
I'm quite wary about this thing with a gunman, but I'm willing to see, I hope it plays well. But I'm wary about that. I'm wary about what's going to happen with William, which we haven't touched on, but we'll leave that for another time. All right. So we talked a bit about, news and rumours about Season 11. Let's move on to some XCast listener feedback. I asked people on Facebook and on Twitter the question, what do you want from Season 11? And I thought it'd be good just to hear from some listeners and see what they've got to say. Now, I'll read these comments out, guys, and some of them we'll just let speak for themselves, but then others will bring up some interesting points that we can maybe touch on. So the first one, I'll go through the Facebook stuff first. The first message was from Adam Silver, and I'll just say a quick shout out to Adam. He's very good on Facebook. He's always very quick at posting, news and articles that he finds about the series. So I just want to say thanks for that, Adam. Yeah. Keep up the good work. And what Adam wants from Season 11 is substantial answers and closure to the mythology and the return of Doggett. Now, I'll just say that's not the last time we're going to hear the word closure in these responses. I'll just flag that up. And it's not the last time we're going to hear the word Doggett either, actually. Michael Little wants stories that really play with the horror of the zeitgeist, and some real closure would be nice. Now, I'm not sure whether he means emotional closure or, narrative plot closure exactly. Maybe both. What about this issue of the zeitgeist, the times we live in? To what extent should the X-Files acknowledge, the very charged political situation in the US and in the Western world at the moment? Bit of a tough one to address. Should it be like an undercurrent, or should it be something they tackle head on?
I personally think it'll be undercurrent. I think it should focus on the mystery rather than tackle head on. I mean, it's difficult. You can have it both ways, but I think you can't turn on your TV without knowing something's going on in the world, and I think it's important that it gets referenced and acknowledged. But I don't think unless it's some sort of time with the mythology or so forth, or whatever story that comes out of the minds of those writers, then I don't think it should be dealt with as heavy-handed. I think it can be just referenced in such a way that it could be like a passing conversation, like, oh, did you hear about Comey being fired or something like that in the FBI halls or something like that, and how everyone's reacting to it. Maybe Skinner's like, look guys, I've got to do something else here. Mulder and Scully tell me what this case is, and just go and deal with it while I deal with this mess or something like that. So I don't think it should be done as heavy-handed. It's only 10 episodes, so there's only so much you can do in that time space. So that's what I'm kind of worried about. If it was over 20 episodes, I think it might have a bigger role to play. But because it's so condensed, I don't know whether it's going to have enough to flesh out that whatever story that they want to do. So I guess for what I would want, I just want a kind of a focus. And if there are political undercurrents that they want to tap into, that's fine. But, try and balance it out.
Yeah, the other interesting thing there is that if My Struggle 3 starts, as we expect, directly after the events of My Struggle 2, then that means that it'll be set in February 2016 and Barack Obama will still be president. So maybe at some point there'll have to be like a time jump to get it up to the present day. But just quickly, Andrew, how should it really, Michael wants stories that play with the horror of the zeitgeist. How should they do that exactly? I mean, it's quite a tough one to answer. What do you think?
I agree with Kalechi. It should be an undercurrent. If you do anything too pointed or heavy-handed, it'll be irrelevant in 2 years' time. I mean, that you go back to the original series. You had there were little jokes, references here and there during the Clinton years, but and you of course had the picture of the president. That's normal. That's everyone knows that's the case. But I think it would be wrong for them to go all in, even though that is kind of what a lot of people do. But I think one thing that's great about the original series was it's still relevant today, even though it's 20 some years later, so it should be definitely an undercurrent. It should be subtle.
I would expect it to be something that's bubbling under the surface like it was in the original run of the series. And then the next comment is from Kathy Glinsky. And I'll just say a big thank you to Kathy because she's been a big supporter of the podcast for a long time. She's always very positive. So thank you very much. And this is a good comment. And she says that she's in this fandom for Mulder and Scully. She says, I like how they work cases together. I want episodes where they do that, where they trust each other's instincts, even when they see things differently. I want them to be an unbreakable unit when they're working. I would like that to mean their personal relationship is resolved with them together happily ever after. But at least their trust has to be restored. And since Season 10 focused so heavily on William, I would like some movement forward with that story. Yeah, so I like that comment.
Quick question, Carl. Do you think, some people think that the ending of Babylon was Chris Carter's way to reconcile Mulder and Scully, and of course, My Struggle 2, they're on screen together for a grand total of 19 seconds, so you don't know, but what do you think they're going to be together?
Do I think they're going to be together? I think they've got this connection that's going to last forever. I mean, exactly what form they're going to be together in, I don't know. The end of Babylon, though, I think that I really like that last scene in Babylon. I think if you turn down the dialogue and you just look at the way it's kind of filmed, it's actually a very nice scene. It's actually a very nice, very well directed scene. I think it's just it's got this like horrible overwritten dialogue playing over the top of it. That's the problem. I don't know. What do you think, Andrew? Do you think they're going to be together with William by My Struggle 4 or whatever the finale?
I don't know. I don't know about the whole William thing. I don't know. There has been footage that they're doing a lot of shooting at Mulder's house. So with Scully there, I'm hopeful that they have come back to the point where they're maybe together again, perhaps living together as they were, and I want to believe. I don't really know. My personal hope is that they are. But at the very least, I felt like the whole separation in season 10, which really was only addressed in the first episode. Yeah. I mean, you didn't get much about it. You would never have thought they were separated if you watched Home Again. You get a few throwaway lines about why they got, why they broke up and everything. And it just doesn't play well. So I feel like it's just easier for them to be together and, but don't pay a lot of focus on it. Don't put a lot of focus on it. Just let it be natural and let them work together while being together.
Here's the thing. I think for Mulder and Scully to have, kind of a happy ending, it sort of means that Mulder's quest needs to be ongoing, because I think they're most comfortable with each other when they've got that as the driving force. So I think it rang true to me that their relationship had come under some strain, I didn't necessarily like the way it played out on screen, but if they've got kind of a quest that's uniting them, their relationship will work okay. But then that's going to mean there's not the closure that people want from the mythology. So it'll be really interesting to see how that circle is squared, Let's rattle through a few more comments. So Clara Cook, fellow XCast team member, fellow podcaster, wants some closure on the mythology regarding William. And then that's everything I had off Facebook, but I had a good few comments from Twitter. So G wants to see the role that the lone gunman may play in the search for William, who they hope we finally meet. Yeah, so if the gunmen are back, how active will they be? Will they get involved in the search for William? We'll find out. Foxglove Tales had a few things that they want to see. So they want tightly written dialogue and some good Mulder and Scully banter. For Gillian to kick it up a notch as Scully. A bit of energy, please. I mean, we haven't really touched on this, but I think there is some validity in saying maybe the performances weren't always, as sharp as they could have been in season 10. I guess people were getting back into the roles. Mm-hmm. And I think you could level that at Duchovny and Anderson, but it varied a lot from episode to episode, I thought.
Yeah.
Kalechi, what did you think?
I mean, I think it felt more natural when they got to Mulder and Scully meets the Weremonster, where it felt very natural with their relationship, I guess. It's a reflection on the whole entire series in terms of the kind of weird, I guess, mix and juxtapose in terms of mixing between the mythology and the standalone, and then the performances to match that episode. So I probably will, for me, will forgive them on that sense, and hopefully season 11 will feel a bit more of a kind of like, okay, we did the hard part. We can relax a little bit and get into our stride. So hopefully it will just be a little bit more less stressful and and more proactive, and maybe we'll see I guess an energetic Scully, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, part of me was like, it'll take, it's been years since they've played the roles. They need a bit of time to get back into a rhythm. But then I'm also thinking that, well, they only had 6 episodes in season 10. They really needed to hit the ground running, because before you knew it, the series was half over. Yeah. They got more time to really get into a rhythm now. Right, let's get back to what Foxglove Tales wants in a new season. So, not too much myth arc that drags on and goes nowhere. So, we've been saying that we want more mythology, but not everybody thinks the same. Not particularly interested in William, but they've planted the idea it does need a payoff. No more bloody flashbacks. They're jarring and irritating. So, well, we'll see. For the new writers to come up with the goods, yep, I think we'd all echo that. For the powers that be to just let Darren Morgan do his thing and create another brilliant episode. And finally, some new and interesting Monster of the Week episodes. There must be some monsters that the X-Files hasn't explored yet. Yeah, it'd be great if we get out of these episodes and we've got 1 or 2 monsters that can really stand up with, people like Toombs and the Fluke Man, wouldn't it, Andrew? That'd be excellent. Absolutely.
I mean, if nothing else, I have hope for some of the standalones and some of the new voices you'll be bringing in. We need some of those, some of those episodes that make you feel like you're watching season 4, season 5, classic, long-lasting episodes.
Yeah. All right. Elaine wants to see William, and she wants to see justice for Monica Reyes. So Reyes' redemption, I suppose. Mulder and Scully having the happy life they deserve.
I don't think it will ever happen, if I'm being honest. I think I think Carter will always leave it open-ended. They might have a happy ending, but I think it will be down to his own sense of humor and what that happy ending will be.
Well, there's that scene in I Want to Believe, isn't there, where they talk about how the darkness always finds them, and I think that is the way Carter sees it for them. But if it is the end, full stop, maybe not. And finally, Elaine wants to see the cigarette-smoking man finally dying for good. Well, I don't know if that rocket couldn't kill him. I don't know what could.
Yeah.
I mean, if he does die, he needs some kind of fitting send-off. What it could possibly be, I can't imagine. Brandon Shea Mutala, who's been a guest in this podcast in the past, wants to see Robert Patrick. That's all I want. Dog it. Gimme dog it. So it's very emphatic there. I mean, it really pleases me. I mean, I don't know what Brandon thought about Doggett in the original run of the series, but it pleases me that more people these days seem to be Doggett fans. And even Reyes as well. There seems to be more enthusiasm for Reyes. And I certainly remember a time when that wouldn't have been the case. So I do like that. Okay. Reynard Muldrake. And shout out to him. He's been doing something on Twitter called the 5 Tweets of X. He's been doing that every other week, I think, or something like that. It's really worth finding him and responding to his messages. It's been good fun. He wants episodes that are better paced, especially Myth Arc, and to not try to do too much. Season 10 wasn't standalone or serialised. Needs to be one or the other. Also, he says, X-Files was really good in the early years of letting writers and directors do their thing. New writers shouldn't be too shackled unless necessary. Yeah, I mean, I wonder how much of an oversight Carter's going to be having, because I know back in the day, season 3, he would talk about he rewrote all but 2 episodes, and I wonder what it's like these days. How much of how much is he guiding things? How much is he steering the ship? It'd be interesting to know. Just a couple more comments. Christian Villacorte, I hope I pronounced that right. He wants to see Doggett, The Lone Gunman, an intriguing spin and a conciliation to the myth arc of old. Kind of things to be joined up, I think, is what he's after. A satisfying resolution to My Struggle 2, and more bizarre standalone cases. Priyangana Laha, now I'm sorry if I've messed up the pronunciation there, wants to see a well-deserved and comprehensible closure, with the usual mix of denial and implausibility thrown in. And just a final comment, and then I'll get your guys, both your takes on this. Lee Hughes wants to see a healthy, loving, romantic relationship between Mulder and Scully, not the sad Scully or the depressed Mulder that we've seen. So what do you think, Andrew, about, is there anything you'd add to what people have been asking for there? Is there anything you specifically want to see?
No, I feel like that pretty well covered it. I would say, just real quickly to touch on William, since the president of Fox did say the search for him would be a running theme throughout the season. I hope that they treat William more as a character and not a concept. Samantha, in my view, was a concept. She was a touchstone for the show. And rightly so, but she was not a character. And I mean, granted, she was, missing and or dead, but I hope that, my point is, I hope that William is not someone that's just, they throw his name in 3 times in every single episode and think that's good enough. We need to have him as a character. We need to have closure for the sake of the viewer and also Mulder and Scully. And I do think that we'll get that. I don't think it will be probably as quickly and as neatly as it could be, but I just hope that they don't make him into what's been referred to as Samantha 2.0, where it's, he's going to be mentioned from here until eternity, but we're never actually going to see him. We're never going to actually get definitive answers. He's always going to be brought up as a sort of storytelling method, but, never a realistic kind of portrayal of what happened to him. Where is he now? Who is he as a character?
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. There's a real danger he becomes nothing more than a plot device, and that probably won't be satisfying. Kelechi, is there anything you want to see that hasn't been flagged up already?
I mean, I guess everybody's covered pretty much what I would expect as well. I mean, I definitely want to see Mulder and Scully together. Not necessarily, I mean, don't get me wrong, I do love their relationship and so forth, but not... we shouldn't have the sort of the tension that we had in I Want to Believe and season 10 that, that obviously got dropped after the first episode in season 10. I think I want to see a more united front between them, and then just, and yes, have more of the banter and have more of the, how their relationship affects the mystery and how the mystery affects their relationship. But I guess, and this is me just being completely greedy because, I've watched or been blessed by watching things like Game of Thrones and Twin Peaks and seeing how they've told their story. But I would like to see X-Files break out of that 43-minute cycle and do longer episodes. I don't want time to be the enemy. Certainly with season 10, if there was a big, massive criticism that I had with it, was that it felt, tightly compact, and it was all done in 43 minutes. And if it was extended to, say, like 50, 55 minutes, or even right down to the hour, I think it would have played a lot better. I think the audience would have felt more relaxed, and it wouldn't have felt like, oh, hi, Mulder and Scully, bye, Mulder and Scully. They're gone before you even know it. So I feel like maybe the standalone episodes might be fine at 43 minutes. I would expect that to be very tight. But if we are going to have this long search for William and how this is going to be played out, and if the season's going to be bookended by mythology episodes, then I would not mind it going to about 50 minutes, an hour, or even a little bit longer.
Yeah, we definitely don't want episodes to feel as rushed as something like My Struggle or My Struggle 2 did at times, or they did to me anyway. As for myself, I think what I would like to see is a reasonable number of episodes, let's say 3 or 4, that really do stand up with the best of the original run. I think that'd be a wonderful thing to see. I mean, obviously I hope the whole season is good, but I'd be happy with, 3 or 4 really outstanding episodes. Alright, thanks very much both. I guess we should wrap up there. Kelechi, did you want to plug your blog just quickly again one more time?
Yes, you can find my blog at www.confessionsfromageekmind.com. That's www.confessionsfromageekmind.com.
And where can people find you on, Twitter?
Twitter handle is at GeekMindUK, and that's the same for Facebook as well.
Okay. What about you, Andrew? Do you want people to find you, or do you want to stay in the shadows?
I'll be honest, I don't use Twitter as much as I probably should, but I'm pretty active with the Facebook page, the Facebook group, the X-Files Basement. We got some great people there, and we got some great discussions and interesting posts, so check it out, the X-Files Basement. They're on Facebook. Yeah,
that's a good point. So if you search for XCast, you should find it. X-Files Basement, the XCast podcast fan group. It's been a little quiet recently, but I imagine as those new episodes come into view, it's just going to ramp up. Yeah, it'd be a good place to spend some time discussing the upcoming season. And you can find us on Twitter at the X_cast. So maybe, Andrew, just quickly, maybe we should just mention the next time people hear an XCast episode, it's going to be the start of the XCast X-Files Podwatch. So yeah. You've been involved with that, as have I. Mm-hmm. It's going to be daily from October the 13th. At least that's the provisional date. October 13th, chosen, of course, because it's Chris Carter's birthday. It's going to be roughly 20-minute episodes every day, covering 2 episodes from the series. So hopefully digestible, bite-sized chunks. And, a lot of us have been working hard on it. And, I don't know, I think hopefully people will like it, Andrew. You can never tell these things.
No, I think a lot of people will. Like I said, a lot of them are very short episodes. Some of them that are maybe more popular, or I can tell you I recorded one for the I Want to Believe, which was not 20 minutes long. But, it's also 2 hours long. So there's some really great stuff and some great people doing it, and great conversations. So I think people will really enjoy it.
Yeah, so people should listen out for that. And the first episode will be Tony Black will be back, and he'll be with me discussing the pilot and introducing the whole Podwatch concept. And that'll be coming soon. All right, thanks again to you, Andrew, and to you, Kelechi. But until next time, listeners, always remember, trust no one.
The Xcast is produced and presented by Tony Black, part of the Black Hole Media podcast network. Title music is courtesy of Will A, who you can find on Twitter at I am Will AYE.